It's a great opportunity to come and witness the MOU between the two. And I believe that, O Lord, everything that we discuss, everything that we listen, we talk about, will become meaningful, will become blessings to us. The MOUs bring forward their agreements. I pray to the Lord, and then as they agree.
Under Nagaland State Rural Livelihoods Mission from Jakama Village, under Rural Development Block Jakama, Kohima District.
Amido Korea Suria Pedro Nai. When you're kina actually we do baca tem right now. Junum hawara ini apa lagi? 1996, 7 years, February country, no, that's it. Which one more? Each other look by a set, look you by it, all by it. You know, Abnian stuff, Manuvan, I have a Pusibara, Abnian Chinavan, whatever I knew of Ray. 이내 모두 아예 내가 한 기부색 10시 바로 아미도 just my number wrong 보이나 스토리까지 비용 거기야 지세 누가 소리 사야 돼 바로 이거 그럴 때하 이거만 있으니까 아니 Inese, everybody in the chair, in the assembly, in the chair, all the bright in the assembly chair to Arjun. One thank you group, we don't want to thank you. You six by chair, in the by the one in the using the six by chair. Joby chair, six by chair, it will have a thank you group in the Makimotan and one Arjun as a 많이 나와서 그래 지나 그냥 first time 와서 19시발 기점이 이내가 많이 나와서 그래 지나 호텔이 그래네 experience 가야네 19시발이지 바로 이도 내가 그렇게 모이도 보글래도 얼로 발라세 모이도 그러면 알라 감도래도 kumba tu suku macam kumba hati naik, kumba tentik naik, kumba di mana kita punya, yang kan dia asal. Tu orang kali person ini baru, tangan dua lebih nak jiwa, lebih tuan orang, orang parents kan kumba isi, orang tahu jauh, orang orang kipai asal, kia dia mana kerana kia dia, orang orang yang itu macam film tu boleh orang besar nak film lah, syukur. Thank you.
First, I give time to Sri Akmati, the Nagaland State Commissioner present with disabilities for the short speech.
Thank you. Or over 1 billion people, or if you want to put it in percentages, 15% of the world's population have a disability. They are the largest minority group in the world. Approximately 27 million people live with disabilities in India, 2.21% of the population as per Census 2011. In Nagaland, the figure is 29,631. That is also according to Census 2011, or 1.5% of the total population. But it must be made clear that this is a very conservative figure, and in reality there will be thousands more living with different kinds of disabilities in our state. people who live with disabilities are more likely to live in poverty than persons without disabilities. And this is basically due to the barriers that they face, in their everyday lives. Barriers such as stigma and discrimination. Then there are all those misconceptions and misunderstandings and negative attitudes about disability, such as viewing people with disabilities as people who are useless, kind of hopeless lives, and people who will not be able to be productive, citizens of the state or of the country, or productive citizens, and people who will not be able to live any kind of, so-called normal life. So then there is a limited, all these limited access to education and employment, inaccessible environments, and a lack of inclusion in livelihood and other social programs. So disability accentuates poverty because the systemic, institutional, environmental, and attitudinal barriers that people with disabilities encounter in their everyday lives result in their entrenched social exclusion and their lack of participation in society. And it must also be noted that women with disabilities face significantly more difficulties. First, because of existing gender biases, and second, because of the barriers, the obvious barriers that they encounter due to their disability. This, of course, also places women and girls with disabilities at higher risk of gender-based violence, sexual abuse, neglect, and exploitation, particularly girls and women with psychosocial disabilities. The SHG movement has now become an effective strategy for poverty alleviation and social mobilization. Particularly with regard to the disabled community, studies carried out in areas where SHGs for disabled people have been successfully implemented show that these types of groups, self-help groups, can be very effective in helping persons with disabilities come out of isolation and drive their participation and inclusion in society. When members were asked the reason for joining such SHGs in these studies, one very significant finding was that about 70% in most of these groups responded that it was to make friends. They come to these these groups to make friends. So livelihood opportunities is, of course, it's a very important component. But today I just want to underline the social interaction opportunities that SHGs provide, because the social isolation that many disabled people experience is very poorly understood, and in fact in our society this is very rarely discussed. We have been through a massive public health crisis in the form of the COVID pandemic in the last 2 years, which of course we are not yet done with. The pandemic forced a kind of social isolation, on everyone, on all the people, globally. The situation was unprecedented in modern times, and a lot of much is being said about the impact of this social isolation on the health of people, on the well-being of people, mental health, general health, and so on. So such a situation may be unprecedented for the rest of the world, the non-disabled world. But for most disabled people, social isolation is actually nothing new. Many remain confined to their homes with very little social interaction, and there are numerous reasons for this. As I said, stigma and discrimination, all the stigmas that are there attached to disability. Then the misconceptions and negative attitudes about disability. Then the lack of accessibility in the physical environment, of course, and so on. Then in some cases, families are overprotective about their family members who are disabled, and so will not let them mingle or socialize with the outside world. Or at the other extreme, some families, because of the stigmas that are attached to disabilities, some families are ashamed to let other people, let the outside world know that they have, family members who are disabled. So society's treatment of disabled people breeds isolation and loneliness. This is very, very poorly understood and not discussed at all, as I said earlier. So this isolation is not by choice, but due to a lack of opportunities and options. So community groups like SHGs can help disabled people, come out of their homes, build relationships within the group, as well as also in the wider community, and in the process help build their confidence and independence. So this collaborative project is so much needed in our state, given the situation that still exists here in our state. The harsh truth is that when it comes to disability, the situation has been disgracefully bad for a very, very long time. And there's no way to sugarcoat the fact that there was huge neglect through the years in the past. And of course, we have to be very clear that it's not only about the government, it's our society as a whole that has failed the disability community, the disabled community. The good thing is that we are now making a lot of progress, a lot of changes are happening also, and awareness is improving, which is a very good thing. Then we have the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, which is the overarching legal framework in the country for the rights of persons with disabilities. And so all measures are now being taken to ensure that the provisions of the Act, the laws, are implemented strictly in the state.
Deprivation, marginalization, discrimination, these are some of the features that we have. Long black our society, let it be in the rural or also in the urban setup. This society is considered non-productive and therefore are eliminated even from within their own family members and also from the community. This makes them vulnerable, not just physically but also financially and emotionally as well. So under our NSRLM, there is an exclusive approach where the nation is mobilizing not only our BPL household, but also identifying the vulnerable section, namely the dependent elderly and destitute, also person with disabilities, widows and even orphans, so as to facilitate them to access to their rightful entitlement. When we are talking about entitlement, there's so many entitlements which the state government, also the industries they are giving, but because of not aware about all those entitlements, people who are supposed to access to all this, they are not getting it. So we focus on them, and that the person, all these destitute, the widows, also the orphans, and the person with disabilities, ensure that the rightful entitlements are given to them, and even encourage them to form into self-help group. So in NSRLM, we are situated in all the 74 blocks. So under these 70 blocks, and we strive to ensure that the most vulnerable households are included either in our SCG groups, members in the mainstream, or also in the exclusive groups. So, and our SIC team led by our SPM SIC, we have a dedicated thematic where it is headed by our program manager of SIC. cancer activities. We are talking about cancer activities under our SDGs. There are so many activities. We have our livelihood team. We have different things are there. So under this, under the directive of the ministries, many activities have been taken up. So even our SDG members, which the special SDG also, we give special provision to them also, and likewise, even from the mainstream SDG, some members are already there, so that they take up the activity. We used to have rotations of meetings every month are there, so each and every SDG member has been posted. So taking a step forward to help them to socialize and make friends with their peers and all that. So it gives them the opportunity to socialize, get to know each other, and that will bring them all from there. And they become more friendly, become more open like that. So that is our target. And we also must not forget that the vulnerable can come out of the vulnerability as they have innate capabilities. And we just need to nurture those capabilities. So it is for this reason that the Nagaland State Livelihood Mission 1 making the annual action plan has strictly proposed for MOU signing with organizations and agencies. So for support in intervention for the elderly, we are signing MOU with the Help Each India. And for support in strategic strengthening of the person with disability, we are signing the MOU with the Office of the State Commission for Persons with Disability today. So currently there are 765 exclusive elderly SDGs and 59 exclusive SDGs for persons with disabilities under the mission, while many are also part of the mainstream SDGs. So to achieve the objective of the comprehensive development of this section, the staff along with the network of SDG in the villages, namely the village level organization, will be involved in intensive dissemination for mobilization and identification, also for capacity building, also financial inclusion, livelihood, accessibility to access to rights and entitlements, and resources will be born from within the NSRLM and through conversion efforts. So, it's very comfortable.
I would also invite the witnesses from both the parties to come forward for the signature. From both the parties.
Carol's not here. First time I've been this, so I don't know how I'm supposed to do it. Okay.
Being very inclusive, but we found out that we were not, because we were leaving out the elderly, we were leaving out the persons with disabilities, because we thought that they will not be able to keep up with the norms. But we're very happy that the day NRLM under the Ministry of Rural Development has now started pushing for social inclusion, and that is how since 2018 our mission has also started fervently working towards that. It's been a long time coming. Actually, we started discussions in 2019 with Ma'am Detono, but then because of the pandemic, there was a lot of setback, and then we thought that we should take it up immediately now that it has settled down a bit. Here, I just want to speak a little about how during the pandemic, our village level organizations, which are the organization for self-help groups, they have taken it upon themselves to ensure that the vulnerable community is well taken care of. They have done so much for the community. They have even gone to the extent of going to their houses, cleaning their houses, giving them a bath if required, and they have even given them basic amenities from their own organization, the money that they have. So they have done a lot of humanitarian work during this time. We are very happy. I feel that it's because they have been very well sensitized. So now we hope that by taking this forward, more people will be voluntarily coming forward to also ensure that our vulnerable community are always included in any of their implementations. We will, as our MD was saying, that we will start preparing the implementation framework. So this MOU is a document where we have spelled out some of the duration, the objectives, and also the deliverables from both the parties. But in the implementation framework, we will come up with an objective strategy on how exactly to go about, initially in the 4 pilots as mentioned. But we are hoping that once this MOU is signed and we start interventions in the 4 pilots, we will take it to the other districts as well. That is our hope, and we hope that this MOU signing will go beyond those boundaries. So now the NRLM is shifting from pilot mode to universalization, which means whatever we are piloting in these 4 blocks will be replicated in the other blocks as well. Here I also want to mention, under the NRLM, for our SCGs, for our mainstream, we call them mainstream self-help groups, there's a lot of norms. We call them the Panchasutra, which is they have to follow regular meeting, regular saving, regular good upkeep of the books, loan repayment, timely loan repayment, and all those. There are so many features. But for our vulnerable groups, as in for especially for the persons with disabilities, there's been a lot of relaxation of norms. So a self-help group to be formed exclusively for persons with disabilities can be a mixed group. It can be male and female. It can be older people with younger people also, and those who are mentally challenged. Even their ward or the caretaker can be a member of the SCG on behalf of the person with disability. So that much of a relaxation has been given by the MORD. We are very grateful to them. Once these groups are formed, our job is to facilitate that they are nurtured well and that they get access to rights and entitlements. We are also looking at possible enterprises that can be taken up by our persons with disabilities. So we hope that the MOU signing today will take us forward in all the big plans that we have. So whenever we go for sensitizing our staff and even some of our community leaders, what I keep telling them is, if we put our heart and soul into this, then we will get a lot of blessings. But if we go about this half-heartedly, as in we take it as just another job, then we might even be cursed. That's what I've told them, because I think it's a very noble thing that we are doing. But we really need the support of everyone, and we're very happy that Ma'am Bodeno is also here, because we fervently require the support of the Social Welfare Department, which is doing a lot, and also the Department of Health and Family Welfare. So I want to conclude by thanking everyone who is here, officials from both the offices as well as from the social welfare department, the media people. I want to also thank the hotel and management and staff for giving us this space. We wanted a space where there's a ramp, and then sadly in Kohima we found that very few hotels they have such facilities, so we're thankful to the hotel management. And we also want to thank our brother here, Sondewol, for coming and sharing his experiences. We hope that the SAG will do well. I want to thank our youth coordinator, Devuprem. Last moment we called him, but he happily agreed to come, so I am really thankful to him. And also, yes, to all my media friends. Thank you so much, and please proceed for lunch. Thank you.